Hey playa, I wouldn't consider myself much of a risk taker, but I have been in several situations which almost left me... That's right, I walked away unscathed and alive, and here I am to talk about it. What I want to share with you today are 5 stories on how I narrowly escaped death, and I'm here to tell you what I learned.
This is the Josh Speaks. Watching the Josh Speaks.
I'd like to take you all the way back to when I was around 12 years old. I was a Weeblo in Boy Scouts. For those of you who don't know, Weeblo means We Will Be Loyal Scouts, which is kind of like a middle school to the high school, which was Boy Scouts at the time. While I was in Weeblos, there were several other kids that were my friends at the time, and one of them we had nicknamed Wolfman Puck. I don't remember why he got the nickname Wolfman Puck, but I think it had something to do with his craziness because he acted like a wolfman. On Memorial Day that year, we decided to travel as a group to the different veterans' graves so that we can put little American flags in front of them. We headed on in with a bunch of our parents at the time. Wolfman Puck came along with Wolfman Mom. I walked around planting different flags every time I saw that someone was a veteran, while Wolfman Puck and his mom found an open grave. It wasn't really open per se. No, that'd be kind of weird if they left an open grave like that because someone could just fall in, right? It was one of those flat graves, and the gravestone on top was slightly ajar, meaning you can look under it and see a piece of plywood covering the hole. So Wolfman Puck and Wolfman Mom thought it would be a great idea to just push the stone off the grave completely. After planting a bunch of flags, me and my friends got bored, so me and a few other kids, including Wolfman Puck, started chasing each other around. I was running after Wolfman Puck when he decided to jump over the plywood, knowing that that was the only layer between the surface and the grave. But me, I didn't quite know, and I ended up falling deep. 10 feet deep into the grave. The moment I fell into that grave and hit the bottom, I felt water up to my knees and started screaming for my life. At the age of 12, I thought, that's it, this is where I'm gonna die, I have already buried myself here. And after screaming a lot, one of my friends came over with this little bag of ropes that all the Boy Scouts had to carry. He tied a little knot and hung it over into the hole so that I can grab on. Now I'm talking about a rope that's about as thin as a cell phone charger, so that rope really wasn't gonna be enough to get me out of there. It took several hours before the firefighters had come, had dropped the ladder in, and pulled me out of that grave. But at that point, I thought I was going to die. And what I learned from that whole experience was to keep calm in dangerous situations like that. Yelling and screaming and being frantic wasn't going to get me anywhere. Plus, it was really weird that I ended up finding a random license plate in there too. Like, where was the body? There was just a license plate in some dirty water. Falling in a deep dark hole? Okay, eventually I got over it, but that meant nothing compared to the time where a stranger pulled a knife out on me. I was with my family visiting my aunt in Williamsburg, which is now all hipsters, but at the time it was kind of a dangerous neighborhood. Everyone had gotten out of the car, and I was probably the last one to leave because I was looking for different toys I had left around in the car. So as my dad is locking up the van, I'm getting out, and as I'm getting out, I end up walking right behind this dangerous looking guy. I could tell something was up with him because he had on this big trench coat, his hands in his pockets, and he was kind of looking around all shifty-eyed. But me as a little kid, I didn't think anything of it. I kind of just ran up behind him and went to go into the door when he ended up pulling a gigantic Michael Myers knife out on me. Do you know how scary it is to see a gigantic man towering over you with a big knife saying, "Ready? Come at me, bro!" I was frozen like a deer in headlights. I had no clue what to do, and I had just accepted, okay, he's gonna stab me to death, this is where I die. But luckily, I started crying and ran around to go hide in the van. My dad came around and asked what happened, and the guy simply said, "Oh, sorry about that, I have a lot of enemies in this neighborhood." Do you, sir? Do you have a lot of enemies that are little 12-year-old boys? Because I find that a little hard to believe. But all kidding aside, I think what I learned from that experience was to be way more aware of my surroundings. Sure, I was a little kid and I didn't really know it was a dangerous neighborhood, but I should always pay attention. Speaking of paying attention, back in the day, me and my brother used to travel every single weekend from Long Island back to Brooklyn while we were in college just so we can hang out with our friends. The drive back was around an hour and a half to 2 hours, and every Sunday night we would drive back really late because we ended up procrastinating throughout the whole day. Well, one specific night, my brother was driving and I was sitting shotgun with him, and we were both extremely tired. I know that the job of the person in the shotgun seat is to make sure that the driver is alert and aware, and that's what I was trying my best to do. But listen, we were both really tired, and I started to fall asleep and he started to fall asleep behind the wheel. And as he and I are both going in and out falling asleep and he's kind of swerving in the lanes, I noticed we had come up to a split in the road where he had to go left. But as he was driving, he wasn't really steering the car left and kept on going straight because he wasn't really awake. Somehow, I opened up my eyes and I saw it and I shook him and woke him up, and at the last second, he turned the wheel and we got on the left lane. Had I responded only a few seconds later, we would have had a head-on collision with the intersection. This was a terrifying experience, and the one thing I learned is that if you're ever going to drive really late at night, make sure you're not tired. But sometimes even being fully awake can't prepare you for the weather trying to kill you as well. Another time, same setup, driving back to school, but this time it was in the winter and there was snow and ice all over the road. Out there in Long Island, it takes some time for the snow plows to kind of make their way down the roads. So as we were driving, we were trying to drive a little bit slow to make sure we didn't have any accidents. But Mother Nature decided, this is kind of boring. I'm going to throw you guys for a little bit of a loop. And as we were driving, the tires started to lose traction and the car made a full 180 spin. Here we are on this big highway with snow coming down and ice all over the road, and we are facing oncoming traffic. Luckily, there were no cars immediately around us in that exact moment, so we ended up driving and turning around the car, and we kept on moving forward. That was pretty scary because twice already we had avoided a potential accident, but the third time we weren't as lucky. My brother and my friends one day decided to get in that exact same car, pack it out, and then drive on over to go check out a wrestling show. The problem was we had 6 people and the car only sat 5. So we thought it would be funny to have one of our friends go inside the trunk, and when we went to go pick up the 5th person, the 6th person would pop out of the trunk and say, "Surprise." That was our exact logic, or lack thereof. So when we picked up the 5th guy, we decided to not say anything about the 6th guy until we actually got to the show. As we're driving down the block, we didn't realize there was a bit of a speed bump, so we went over it, and my friend who was in the trunk hit his head and decided to text us saying, "Ow, what was that?" Literally, as he's texting us, we pull up to the stop sign and then start going. On our left side, a car had decided to run a red light and hit us right on the side. When I say hit us, I mean smashed right into the side of the car. The airbag popped out, the glass on the left side shattered, and I was sitting on that back left-hand door. Those few seconds of it happened in slow motion for all of us. We didn't know what was going on or why it happened. But as we got out of the car and started to look at the damage to both cars, we remembered, our friend in the trunk! We rushed over to open the trunk to find our friend lying there holding his head going, "Damn, was that another speed bump?" The 5th guy in the car was completely confused. He's like, "You had someone in the trunk this whole time?" The guy that hit us is freaking out because someone else popped out of the car and none of us know what's going on, when all of a sudden, my friend from high school just happened to be walking down the block and sees us. Here we are sitting in front of this entire car carnage, and he walks on over and goes, "Hey guys, how you been? I haven't seen you in a while. What's up?" What's up is that we almost just died in a car accident. Where are you coming from? What are you doing right here, right now? Looking back on it though, I think we're all super grateful that we were able to walk away. No one got seriously hurt and we all survived. We were college-age kids. We weren't thinking about these things, but that's why I want to talk to you about it now, because these are things that you should think about. In retrospect, sure, these stories sound a little bit funny, but they were incredibly serious to me when they happened. All in all, I think the biggest takeaway I have for you guys here is to be grateful for every single day that you have. In any of those moments, I could have lost my life. What do you guys think though? Have you ever been in a situation that was dangerous like that or potentially fatal? Leave your comments below and we'll talk about it. I know some of you out there have had extremely traumatic and scary experiences like these, and I don't mean to make light of them. I want you to understand that. I do want to bring awareness to the people that overlook potential things like this though. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I put out a new video every Tuesday and Friday sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. If you enjoyed this story or found it helpful in some way, check out all of my other life stories. I talk about how I've been bullied, me and my first girlfriend, and everything else that I've experienced. Be aware of your surroundings and be grateful for the things that you have. As always, guys, love and peace.